What's up, guys? Matt Brown from the LSR Podcast. Thanks for joining me and Dustin and Adam right here on the channel each and every week. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you'd like us to tackle in a future episode. But without further ado, here's a clip from episode number 62. So we talked about a little fire in the belly here, guys. Some getting a little pumped up here on the podcast, and this is going to be so really amazing here. Dustin, let's talk about Pittsburgh's athletic director.
Yeah, so this news came out last week that Congress, as part of its discussions about name, image, and likeness for the NCAA, and if it's going to do any legislation, that there would be a hearing, and part of that hearing would also involve integrity in sports betting as relates to college athletics, which instantly when I heard that, I was, let's say, not excited about the prospect of Congress getting into sports betting again. They have done a hearing on this in the past. They have done one on daily fantasy sports. Both were debacles. You can argue this one was even worse because of the kind of short shrift it was given. It was a very minimalist amount of time spent on sports betting. But the big thing was, we had the Bill Miller of the AGA was speaking. He gave testimony. But the bigger part was we had the athletic director of Pitt in Pennsylvania come on and basically ask Congress for a ban on college betting, which is so backwards and so dumb at this point. We've gotten all this way. The first federal ban was obviously awful. Offshore sports betting ran rampant without any legal options outside of Nevada in the United States. We've had 2 years of a regulated market, and that has often included college betting. And now we have one of two witnesses in front of Congress saying, you need to ban college betting. Now, that's just stupid for reasons that we all know. There is going to be college betting no matter what. It will happen offshore. It will happen in multitudes of ways, whether you ban it at the congressional level via federal legislation or not. So this was, of the dumb things we've heard in sports betting over the years, the testimony that we saw from Pitt's AD is in my top 5 of some of the worst and dumbest things that we've seen. And I'm still angry after having listened to it almost 24 hours ago, and it's disappointing that this is where we're still at on the conversation, that we're talking about banning a certain segment of betting because that's somehow going to improve integrity, which we know is not the case.
Adam, this is something that, listen, we might have people listening to this, and maybe it's AIDS, maybe it's whatever. So, I mean, we might as well beat the drum here even more. And the people that have been with us since day one here, we are on episode number 62 now, but those who've been with us from day one have certainly heard us say this before. But I mean, listen, let's talk about why this is just such an incredibly terrible idea.
The foundations of this idea are built on things that are coming from one of two places. They're either coming from ignorance or they are coming from willful deceit. There's no other way around it. Because if you read through the written testimony that was brought by Pitt's AD, Heather Lake, you see numerous arguments that are either long since disproven, based on complete falsehoods, or otherwise debunked long ago. So I guess I don't understand that this is the stance that the NCAA wants to present in front of Congress, because realize that Pitt's AD was not speaking just for herself. She was speaking as a representative of Lead One, this group out of Washington, D.C. that represents a number of college administrators, right? So this is being put forth as an official position. And we broke it down on Legal Sports Report at our Twitter at LSP Report yesterday. The numerous arguments involved here that make no sense whatsoever. We were approaching it in this letter as though betting started in 2018 when PASPA fell. The idea that there is not betting on college sports, the idea that athletes are more susceptible to being influenced by money in a legal regulated market than they are by offshore bookies, the idea that the legal market is not the best way to catch any potential irregularities, as it has been for the last 50 years of sports betting, all of those ideas are patently insane. There's no good explanation for what was put in front of Congress yesterday. And very honestly, there were some arguments that are flat out disingenuous, like talking about college prop betting and talking about there might be betting on the jump ball of a game in an NCAA basketball game. That's garbage. There's not a legal regulated book on earth that is offering that bet. You know where that is being offered? At offshore books. That's the sort of thing you can find in an unregulated market. And I have to say, and I've expressed this to some people privately as well, I think there was a missed opportunity for Bill Miller from the AGA yesterday when some of these things were put out there to respond to it and say, no, this isn't the case. I think he left some room in there talking about it being, quote, unclear about the threat of match fixing and not fighting back on some of these prop betting situations that maybe left more momentum, even if it is a small amount of momentum, for some version of a college betting ban that would be tied to the name, image, and likeness situation. Because I don't think a college betting ban gets through on its own in Congress, but there could be some small momentum attached to this name, image, and likeness situation that the NCAA is running to Congress to try to save itself after a few state laws were passed to this effect as well, as Senator Cory Booker talked about in the hearing.
And of all the disingenuous things that the AD said, the one was the worst one for me was when she was saying that with a regulated market, there would be more college betting scandals. We've had legal betting for 2 years. There have been, unless we've missed it, I don't think we've missed it, there have been 0 college betting scandals in the last 2 years. There have been plenty of college betting scandals in the past with point shaving, either via, that have been smelled out in Vegas or have been handled via, that were being bet on offshore. So this is, that's the kind of thing that we were dealing with yesterday. This is, and I'm with Adam. I don't know how dangerous this is in terms of being something that Congress is going to look at as something that they're going to be interested in. But that we have that, and now we don't, and we now have we have somebody on the record saying college betting scandals are going to get worse when we have 0 evidence of that. That doesn't mean there's not going to be a college betting scandal, but just to say it offhand, yes, more betting in regulated markets is going to mean more betting scandals. That's just nonsense, and there's 0 proof of that. So the whole thing was frustrating, and I don't know. We didn't really expect anything less than it being frustrating, but this is what happens when Congress gets involved. We, as I wrote at LSR the other day, the best thing that Congress could do is stay out of this and not be involved. Gambling has been the purview of states generally for a long time, and there's nothing that the federal government or the Congress can do that I think they're going to do is going to make sports betting better. There are things that they could do. Banning college betting is not one of those things.
I mean, guys, what has happened since May of 2018 that would suggest that states have not been able to effectively regulate this? Because part of what the argument that Heather Lyke brought was that, well, this patchwork of state laws creates a situation where states that don't have legal gambling on college sports are dealing with sort of the actions of states that do have legal betting on college sports. Are you serious? Are you trying to make the argument that those who bring a legal regulated market to betting on college sports are going to somehow make it so that states that don't have it are now more susceptible because of the legal betting in that market? Again, it's either willfully ignorant or deceitful. And either way, it's not right and it's not fair to the efforts of the industry, the efforts of legislators in the nearly 40% of states that have passed legal sports betting in the past 2.5 years. One way or the other, it is not what Congress needs to be hearing. I think the industry didn't have as much pushback as it needed yesterday, and hopefully it doesn't lead to more.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest takeaway for me is it was the same old tired arguments, right? It was just the same stuff that has been brought up for years now, where it's just, like Dustin said, there's either absolutely no evidence whatsoever or it's been disproven. And then whenever you go to this deal, it's like, can we promise you that there will not be some sort of college betting scandal? The answer is no. And the reason for that is because bad people are going to do bad things no matter what. It does not matter whether or not you ban it legally within the United States. They're still going to be able to get money down somewhere, offshore, wherever it might be. And if they want to do bad things, they're still going to do bad things. And so that's like the thing to me, like Adam, that you mentioned. I feel like there was a missed opportunity in the fact that there wasn't an adamant kind of like pounding of the fist on the table to say, Guys, these are old, tired arguments with no proof, with absolutely no legs whatsoever that we have dealt with and been dealing with forever. And as Dustin mentioned, yeah, there's been legalized sports betting outside of Nevada for the last couple of years, but there's been legalized betting in Nevada forever. And like, you look at this and there has not been this rampant thing of match fixing or point shaving or whatever it might be in college athletics. And so it just, to me, I just continue to, face palm every single time these arguments continue to come up.
Well, Matt, I'm going to go back to the same logic that I used with the Bet Chris idea. You have to stamp these things out long before they become a thing, to put it in air quotes, right? You stop the potential whitewashing of offshores to come into the U.S. market by being very loud and very clear about the fact that it should not happen for regulators to approve these companies who took part in the activity illegally to now try to take part in the activity legally. When it comes to politics, when it comes to things like Capitol Hill and allowing the idea of prop betting on the jump ball, which is such garbage that it's hard to even believe that someone didn't pound the table in that room to say, wait a minute, this isn't even a real thing. When those ideas get into the heads of legislators, that's when you start to get the both sides. That's when you start to get the, well, what if we just gave a little bit of a concession here? No, there is no legitimate both sides when the argument that is being made is patently false from one side. You can't take that and turn it into a good faith negotiation, because only one side is negotiating in good faith. The other side is bringing back arguments that are either straight out false or have been proven to be based in, let's just say, myth. That is not good faith.
Guys, as a reminder, the full version of this podcast can be found over at LegalSportsReport.com, as can the written breakdown of every topic we talk about on the show each and every week. Thanks for watching.